Welcome to the Pet Loss Journals podcast. I am your host, Louise. This podcast is all about the reality and impact pet loss has on our lives, and I will be discussing my personal journey through pet loss. So if you are struggling on your own pet loss journey, then this is the podcast for you. Episode 31. I'm so glad to be bringing you another episode this week, and this journal entry for this week that I will be explaining and reading is from the 3rd of November 2021, and I'm actually keen to get straight into it this week, so here we go. I've just noticed that I've been writing in this journal for nearly 2 years. I'm kind of proud of myself for doing that though. I definitely feel things are getting better with my PTSD since I've been having CBT sessions. I've been able to understand what happens in my brain when I experience certain things that remind me of the day the dogs died. I now know that my brain is reverting back to that very day, and my body is feeling extreme panic. They are kind of episodes, but now I can come out of them quicker. I do some deep breathing exercises when I can, and if Steve is there, his hugs help too. I know I might never be fully healed from the trauma, but I do think I've accepted that now, and I'm okay with that. I know when I get the anxiety or panic attacks that it's from what happened that day, but I keep telling my brain, that's not happening right now. You are safe. Every time I look out the window of my home here, I feel so grateful, and also I am in disbelief that I am actually living in this beautiful part of Ireland. My heart just fills up with happiness. I am respected by my partner. I feel safe and secure. I can be myself. Things are great and they will be better. I am finally adjusting to life without the dogs. And this is a new life now, another chapter of my life. I don't have to let go of the dogs. I just have to remember that their healing energy is around me. And if I need them, I can ask them for their help. So that was this week's journal entry. A really beautiful one, I think. I really feel like it is. So many beautiful parts to it as I just look at it here again. Really kind of starting to believe what was happening for me in my brain, like what was happening with those panic attacks and those PTSD symptoms. And it was kind of empowering actually to kind of learn what was happening for me. And like, I'm still no expert, but I understood what was happening, and that was really important to me to understand that. There was so much change in my life, but also it was really nice for me to be able to write down the beautiful things that were happening to me in life. Living in such a beautiful place in Ireland, feeling grateful, writing down my gratitudes, and that's exactly what I did in this journal entry. I'm feeling safe, I'm feeling secure, and I can really be myself, and I've accepted that now. I've accepted that I experienced trauma from a really traumatic situation. And I kind of say that I know that I might never be fully healed from the trauma, and I think there is still an element of that. And I will be honest, and I don't believe trauma extinguishes completely from people, no matter how much work they do. But we learn to heal a good portion of it, and because we can't ever avoid triggers in the environment. And I spoke about triggers on a previous episode. But it's really important to kind of mention that we can't control everything in the environment, and there will be times that we will feel that trauma kind of arise and be kind of a little bit louder in our bodies. Really, it's important to kind of say that that's okay, it's normal, and you'll hear me harping on about that so much. It's normal for that. We can't ever say that we'll be fully healed, but we can learn to navigate life, and we can learn to feel a lot more happiness and joy compared to the steep, like, inconsolable sadness and panic and trauma and PTSD and all of those things. So that's what's important here. I've been writing in this journal for nearly 2 years. Yeah, it's so lovely to read that back, and like, I will note that some of you may be listening and thinking, she's wrote in that notebook every week for 2 years. I haven't. There was definitely parts of the time that I may not have written for a month or 2 months, or then maybe I did write for a couple of weeks, one after another. I want you all to know that this wasn't consistently, or this wasn't daily. A lot of the time, yes, it was weekly, but then as time went on, that stretched out. I might have had 3 months of not writing and then come back to it. I really just followed my gut with it, and that's what I would say. I'm always, advocating for journaling, but I wouldn't necessarily advise people to do it every single day. And I was like, that's not doable for some people. I kind of just went with, if my body needed to, or my mind, my soul, if that needed to get something down on paper, I would listen to that message, intuition, feeling, and I would go ahead and do that then. That's how my journals, that's how the entries just formed. It would be very kind of organic is the word I'm looking for. It would just be organic. It wouldn't be regimented. It wouldn't be routined. There wouldn't be a set pattern or schedule to when I do it. It was always spontaneous or sporadic, that kind of a scenario. And if you are a regular, journal writer, or have a diary and you do that every night, then that's great. There's no there's so many messages out there to say we must have this spectacular morning routine and we must do A, B and C before we have our breakfast, or we must do this and this. And I think that puts unnecessary pressure on people to force themselves to do things, because I think as well as women, we don't follow that same 24-hour clock that men have, and our emotions are in different places at different times of the month. That's all I'm going to say on that. And sometimes we need rest and recuperation, and other times we are full of energy, and other weeks we are creative, and other weeks we want to kind of nurture ourselves and that kind of thing. So I mean, that's probably definitely a reason why I wasn't very regular with a lot of my journal entry writing. But what's important here is to note that although I was still experiencing a lot of symptoms and responses and grieving a lot, I was also able to see that light after loss, and to be able to write down those things that I was really grateful for, and the things that were amazing in my life, amidst feeling all of the the turmoil that I was going through emotionally. Life is like a seesaw. It's that roller coaster. It's really okay to feel amazing one week and not feel amazing the next week, and that's totally normal. There is so much to be grateful for, and I think this journal entry kind of highlights that it's, if you are early on in your pet loss journey, if you've experienced pet loss recently and you have had some really amazing days with your loved ones or a partner, and then you feel that automatic guilt of, oh, I shouldn't be laughing, I shouldn't be happy, my pet just died, I can't, like, and then you nearly like punish yourself for feeling that guilt for having a really amazing happy day with people, like laughing. And even if you aren't with people and you had a really amazing day, just go easy on yourself. And like that narrative of, God, my pet died, and I shouldn't be laughing and I shouldn't be experiencing joy. Oh my God, your pets would want you to experience so much joy. I mean, if they are around you, which I always believe that they are, do they want you to be inconsolably crying and just not experiencing any joy throughout the days? Of course not. They imagine how happy that they would be knowing that you had a really good day, that you smiled, that you laughed, that you felt happiness and joy, and you were with people that loved you, that were just making you feel amazing, giving you comfort, affection, love, whatever the scenario is. I know that we have to honour our pet's memory, and if we are experiencing joy and having a nice couple of days, that doesn't mean we're not honouring our pet's memory. It really doesn't. That's, it's so complex. But I remember when I was having a particularly bad week with grief, and this happened so much that then I would have a really amazing day. I would have a day out with friends, or I would be hiking, or I would be with Steve, or we'd be doing something really, really cool, really nice. And it's not that I forget about the pain or about the grief. It's that, I'm going to make some room for some joy now, because I want to experience some joy. I think that it's important for me to do that. And I was kind of saying to myself, I think my dogs would like if I experience some joy now. I want to have this reprieve, this break from feeling grief. And it's not that I suppressed it, it was I let myself experience the joy. And then later that day I always checked back in, and if I needed to grieve, needed to cry, I let that happen. But I granted myself, I gifted myself that joy and that happiness when there was that opportunity available to me. And that's what's important. That can be really, really, God, yes, it can be really, really difficult to do that. Don't get me wrong, of course it can, especially in the early days, especially when it's so raw and so painful. But it's really important to check in with yourself and ask, say, I really would like to smile today even, or to receive a hug from somebody, or go somewhere and do something that I've always loved to do before this happened to me. That's what's important. I mentioned that my heart just fills up with happiness. I am respected by my partner. I feel safe and secure. I can be myself, and that's really, really important. A lot of times I've worked with clients before, and they have mentioned that after they experienced this tremendous loss, the loss of their pet, be that a cat, a dog, whatever animal was in their life, and many of them have come back and said to me, you know what, I have reevaluated my life. All of this pain has helped me to look at reevaluating my life. And obviously the grief recovery method helps them to do that, and the sessions and all of the grief work that they're doing with me. But it's so common for them to come back and say that they've reevaluated their life. And even when it came to romantic relationships or partners, they say that they now know what they need from a relationship. They now know what's of value to them. They've learned their values. They've learned more about their identity. They've learned how to give themselves compassion. They've learned about self-worth while doing all of this, and that it's helped them to look at different areas of their life that they feel needs some change, basically. And that change might be brutal, might be hard. For example, people in their life that are toxic, that are causing them to feel really, really unhappy. They've come to these realizations from doing their own personal grief work. That's a huge, huge benefit of the Grief Recovery Method program, and that also happened to me when I did that. I was able to be a lot more clear with my boundaries surrounding certain relationships in my life. It's just incredible that working on grief, and particularly pet loss grief, can open a door to different aspects and areas of your life that you never thought about before, or you never realised there was patterns there that you were like, okay, yeah. Loss has a lot to do with how we're feeling around patterns in certain relationships, how we navigate life, how we deal with change, how we deal with rejection. It all kind of intertwines with loss. So there's so much I could go on, but I love to harp on about things once I get on a roll with something. But I think highlighting the fact that when you get to a stage in your life where you feel like you want to do some personal work, some deep inner work, then when you feel that urge to do it, I would suggest go and look into something that you feel guided towards doing. It may not be pet loss support, the grief recovery method. It may not be that. It may be another kind of empowerment course or coaching or anything like that. If you're feeling the pull to say, you know what, I've been ignoring this now, and I want to process it, or I want to learn, why I feel like I'm a people pleaser, why I struggle with boundaries, why I continue on patterns in certain romantic relationships, friendships, things like that. I am always advising, go ahead, go with your gut if that's something that you feel that you want to work on. And I know I'm veering off from the whole pet loss topic, but it's hard not to talk about other areas of our lives when we are going through deep loss. It makes us assess and analyse other parts of our life. It really, really does. And like I've said before numerous times, positive light comes from loss, and a lot of light came to me after the darkness of loss that I experienced, and it's an amazing new chapter of my life, this amazing new experience, and it was incredible. And I would say that also has happened to several of my clients in different areas of their lives, different scenarios. But yeah, that is my episode for this week. I do always want to say thank you so much for listening along, and being like that real dedicated listener. Your messages mean the world to me. If you feel like supporting this little podcast in a really small way, which helps me to keep this going every week, join my Patreon, and the link is always in the show notes. There is some extra bonus content over there. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this week's episode. Remember, your pet loss grief is real, and it is so valid. Please be gentle on yourself. Until next time, take care.